Hey, what's up? I'm Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and let's talk about some creator drama that's happened over the last 24 hours. So I'm kind of rolling this into one video here because I think it's along the same theme. Two different popular creators, one of them Mike Mayhew, who probably is best well known for his variant covers that he does, and also Chris Claremont, who obviously is best known for his decades of work on Uncanny X-Men. Both of those creators are kind of at the center of some different types of controversy. First, let's talk about Mike Mayhew. So Mike Mayhew released a cover for Star Wars The Mandalorian. It has the armor on the cover, and this was kind of a cool cover. It sold out very quickly. So an Instagram user was really upset that these comic books sold out. Apparently they had some in their cart, and they went to check out and were told that those comic books were sold. I believe, from what I can interpret, this person didn't understand how Shopify works and thought that this was essentially Mike Mayhew pulling from his cart and selling to somebody else. Now, the way Shopify works is whoever can check out fastest gets the books. It's not really a thing where like having it in your cart holds it for you. It's a whole mess. Whenever one of these exclusives launch, it's a limited number. I feel like there needs to be a better way to do it. One way I think they could do that, by the way, is having a password that releases around the time the cover's supposed to drop to prevent bots from snatching them up, to make it kind of slow down the checkout process a little bit longer, give more people a crack at it, as well as, of course, limits on how many you can buy. That definitely helps things as well. But some of these exclusives, especially the Star Wars ones, tend to be extremely popular. They sell out really fast. And a lot of fans, a lot of collectors get really upset when they don't get theirs. This particular person decided to take to Mike Mayhew in a couple of posts and basically say, you know, I'm done. This is a joke. You're taking the comic books out of my cart. And then they had a DM exchange with Mike Mayhew, which they chose to share on their Instagram feed. In that particular exchange, Mike Mayhew gets very upset and starts swearing at the person and basically saying he doesn't care about his fans. Although I think a lot of that is heat of the moment. I really think the way I interpret this is there's a lot of people that are super mad at Mike Mayhew right now, and I understand it. That makes perfect sense. I think he owned a lot of that hate. You should assume that anything you're saying in a DM like that could be shared at any time. It's something that I think you need to be aware of. If you feel that way, maybe you should change how you speak in DMs. But he said what he said, and people see it. And it certainly appears as if he doesn't care what his fans think about him. I don't fully believe that. I think it's more along the lines of he's mad because he probably gets a lot of criticism, a lot of hate when these exclusives sell out. A lot of people saying he's just, you know, greedy, in it for the money, that sort of thing. And that's probably a trigger for him. That doesn't excuse how he reacted. I'm trying to be very clear here. You guys have to remember, I play devil's advocate on this kind of stuff. And the way I look at this is I don't think that this is Mike Mayhew being completely irreprehensible and is a total villain and a bad guy here. And I don't look at the Instagram user as being the hero or the underdog in this either. I think that they both had a part to play in this exchange. Since inevitably people are going to want my take on it, what I really believe is that Mike Mayhew probably overreacted and should not have said what he said. Well, I don't think probably. He shouldn't have said what he said. It would have been a lot more diplomatic to take the high road, to not reply, to not respond, to say, that's not what happened. I'm sorry you feel that way. Any of those kinds of things. I think that would have been better. I've had very limited exchanges with Mike Mayhew as a customer, not as any kind of a friend or DMs or anything like that. And I will say that he was perfectly professional with me the entire time. Those were about a continued delay in a book. He was honest about it, apologized about it, never had any kind of issues with him whatsoever. Seeing this exchange definitely was eye-opening, but I'm not terribly surprised. These artists get criticized for stuff all the time, and eventually everybody's going to have a bad day. They're going to snap. Maybe this is an isolated incident. Maybe it happens all the time. I don't know. We have one example to base this off of. When it comes to the Instagram user, they didn't understand how Shopify worked, and they're blaming Mike Mayhew for something that wasn't necessarily his fault. Now, they're also allowed to be upset about that because it is a frustrating experience. It isn't necessarily something that I would call fun or memorable. It doesn't add to your enjoyment of collecting. However, this is somebody I'm told is also a reseller, so they're probably feeling like they lost some money on this deal as well. That's just a guess again. And even if they are a reseller, that's not necessarily a bad thing. We see that all the time in comic books. Maybe it's not what we love to see, but it does happen. I'll straight up say there's a lot of times where I buy 2 copies of something because I know that selling one of those copies is going to pay off the copy I'm keeping for my personal collection down the road on the secondary market. You can call me a villain for that. You can hate me. I don't know. That's just how I do it. I use the hobby to fund itself. And I'm smart enough to know that if I can get my hand on a couple of copies of those books, that later down the road I can sell it and make money off of it and pay for the comic I'm keeping for my personal collection or buy some different comic books. That is how I view it, and I think that's an okay way to collect comic books personally, and I think that it's a way that more and more we're seeing more commonly anyway. So that's how I feel. If you disagree, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. On to the second topic, which is Chris Claremont. So this is interesting. The only reason I know about this is because I follow Comic Tropes on Twitter. Comic Tropes made a tweet kind of suggesting that something was going on with Chris Claremont. So in that tweet, I found a thread that was a live thread that was tweeting what was happening at a Chris Claremont appearance at C2E2. And it starts out, you know, he's late to the panel. There's some comments about how the opener is trying to talk about stuff other than Chris Claremont's X-Men work, and there's crickets. Some of the stuff reads a little cringy, but again, they were waiting for a while for him to appear. So it seems like, you know, maybe there was some restlessness in the crowd. It's really hard to say. All of this is being shared through one thread. I haven't seen a video of this appearance yet. I haven't seen any other people that were there talking about it. So this is all through the lens of what this one person was tweeting about. And again, I found this because I follow Chris at Comic Tropes, and he was talking about it on Twitter, and I was kind of reading it, and it seemed pretty weird to me, pretty just strange, kind of seemed to be out of nowhere, but part of that is how the tweets were worded. Certainly one of the more interesting moments is when he's talking about Tessa Thompson, and he says that she should go back to Men in Black, sorry, persons of color, his words, and that definitely raised some eyebrows. I think that there's a really good chance he's joking about that. I don't think he's necessarily being serious, but that definitely is going to raise some eyebrows in 2022 when it sticks out in a Twitter thread. So the other stuff he said, and this is, to me, is where it became really obvious he was joking around, to me at least, is he's talking about being an old white guy that can't get away with playing fast and loose with racial identity because he's British and they've been doing it for 1,000 years. And then he talks about making Kitty Pryde T'Challa and Storm's daughter and making her black, and it kind of became obvious, okay, he's kidding here. So where this got amped up to a completely different level for me is another creator that I follow, another content creator, is Perch. And Perch made a video that somebody linked me to, I didn't know it was out yet, where he's talking about Chris at Comic Tropes tweeting about this. And I really don't want to get into this too much, but I sort of feel like I have to, because you have Perch calling Chris at Comic Tropes a shit stirrer for bringing this up in the way he talked about it. First of all, I don't think that Perch has much room to be calling other people shit stirrers when that's a lot of what he does. I think kind of self-proclaimed in a lot of ways. I'm a fan of both of these individuals, and seeing, you know, Perch kind of go on the attack a little bit on Comics by Perch certainly caught me off guard, and honestly left a bad taste in my mouth. I enjoy a lot of Perch's videos, even if I don't always agree with him. I enjoy Chris's videos, even if I don't always agree with him. I would say that most of his content is more of a fan orientation. It's a kind of dissecting as an artist and looking at different art styles and writing styles from different creators and talking about comics through history. And I think that's a very valuable and cool part of what happens in comic content creation. And it's something that helped inspire me to do this channel, maybe not directly in how I do most of my content, but certainly in being fearless and getting out there and doing a channel. At the same time, Perch is somebody who I respect in a lot of ways as well. And I think it's really kind of unfortunate to see bandwagons and pitchforks kind of forming over Chris Claremont's takes on this and over both of these content creators' takes on Chris Claremont's takes. I think that it's just one of those things that's really unfortunate. I don't necessarily think Chris Claremont is racist or any of these things. I don't think he should deserve to be canceled over this. You know, I purchased somebody who's been around the industry for a very long time, and he's very quick to say that this is just how Chris Claremont is, and he's been that way for decades. And, you know, if most people are okay with that, then I don't have a problem with that. I actually really separate myself from comic book creators and artists in general, musical artists, actors, everybody, and what their product is. To me, those are almost completely separate things. I don't really view them the same way. A lot of people can't separate, you know, a creator from their product, from their art. I definitely can, so that doesn't bother me as much, and I don't even think it's necessarily something that has to happen in this case. So the lesson that I take away from this is that maybe we should all wait a minute before demonizing anybody when it comes to something that happens in 2022 and the internet. There's always this knee-jerk reaction that happens to stuff, and that includes the reaction to the reaction, and probably the reaction to the reaction to the reaction, and that's just unavoidable to certain extents. But Still, I'm curious what your thoughts are about this. Let me know in the comments down below. On your way down to the comments, make sure you check out the description, which does have a link to save you money on certain things like comic books and comic book cleaning and pressing, as well as comic book supplies from Gemini, for example. You can also follow me on Whatnot, Instagram, and Twitter. Those links are down below as well. And if you do want to become a channel member at the $10 a month level, you do get a chance to win some free comic books every month, and you get a discount on cleaning and pressing at Turlock Comics. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I want to remind you, as always, hey, 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 hey. Read comics every day.